Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm Jon Favreau.
I'm Jon Lovett.
I'm Tommy Vietor. It's
Bring
nice
some
to
energy
see you
to
all.
that.
I
Bring
like
some
it,
energy.
yeah.
On today's show, Republicans finally release a policy agenda for the midterms. Our old boss, David Plouffe, joins to talk about the final stretch of the campaign. And we try out a new game called Q-Tier.
Q-Tier.
All right, let's get to the news. With just about 6 weeks left until Election Day, Republicans have unveiled a vague policy platform they're calling a commitment to America. Kevin McCarthy, the man who would likely become Speaker of the House if Republicans flip the chamber, announced the plan with a big rollout that included a video meant to show scenes of America that was actually stock footage filmed in Russia, and a letter with a fake Lincoln quote that was actually a Lehman Brothers ad.
Yeah. They also had footage from a kid in Ukraine and a supermarket in Europe. So great work all around.
Nailing it.
On the stock footage front.
I love when stupid shit like that becomes a thing.
Who
cares,
really
but it's fun.
It's the best.
Fake Lincoln quote.
They always get in trouble with the stock footage.
And the fake Lincoln. Look, I think we had
I was about to say, like,
Wait,
those without fake Lincoln quotes throw the first fake Lincoln quote.
What happened? What was the quote?
I can't remember what the speech was.
Did we ever get I remember. Wasn't it the one he told? Wasn't it right before the ACA?
Yeah, that's right.
It was. He went to speak to members of Congress, and he gave this really moving speech about courage and doing the right thing and passed the Affordable Care Act.
Most of which he ad-libbed.
But he dug deep and he found the perfect Lincoln quote, and it was perfect in part because it was made up. It was a made up quote.
Maybe that's what McCarthy took. Yeah. Anyway, so the agenda is mostly limited to four broad themes: an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, a future that's built on freedom, and a government that's accountable.
Sure.
Here's McCarthy with Elise Stefanik and Steve Scalise talking about the plan to a Fox News reporter, and they're doing it from where else? A Pennsylvania diner.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this. We're in Washington, not Washington, D.C. We're in Washington County, Pennsylvania. Why? Because this plan is about all these people. We want an election to have a contrast. If they put their trust in us, this is exactly what we'll do. Hold our feet to the fire. And on the very first day, we're going to repeal 87,000 IRS agents. So they're not going after you. We work for you. You don't work for us.
They're in Washington County, Pennsylvania.
No. I'm issuing a verbal cease and desist. It's coming from me. It has the force of law because I did the very tired. We're in Washington. We're listening to Washington insiders in Washington County, Iowa, not Washington, D.C. in 2007 or 8, because from my perspective, history begins with me and my political experience.
Which,
no one else
by
did
the
that
way,
first.
was a hit on Lovett's political mentor, Hillary Clinton.
Right, 'cause she was listening to the lobbyists.
Learned everything I know. Taught me all my tricks. Yes, I do.
Everything about this is tired.
I do like that it's like, hold my feet to the fire. The first sentence is simply not true. They cannot do anything that's in there. Even if it wasn't vague, even if it was written out, they can't do it. And also, their very first and most important agenda item is a lie. The first thing you need to know is that we're going to repeal something that is not happening based on a right-wing fever dream. And we're on it.
This plan is about the people. The people here. It's a plan about people.
One thing you have to understand if you haven't seen
America.
the video is that you have Steve Scalise, Elise Stefanik, and Kevin McCarthy sitting at a table in some sort of restaurant, surrounded by what look like NPCs, just non-playable characters, standing in perfect silence with dull expressions on their faces, watching these four people, one of whom is a Fox News reporter, in front of the same order from the diner. All of their napkins are still beneath their forks. The only person who looks interested in eating is Steve Scalise. And if you actually watch the video,
so hungry.
If you actually watch the video, his right hand is kind of twitching a little. Like he's like, "Can I go for my fork? Can I go for my fucking fork?" Elise Stefanik doesn't care about that.
So Republicans are still favored to flip the House, and they're trying to make this election a referendum on Biden and the Democrats. Why do you think McCarthy did this, Tommy? And why do you think the platform is so vague?
I mean, I think part of it is that there are no new ideas, and we all pretend that Newt Gingrich's 1994 contract with America was some sort of game-changing political document that led to Republicans winning tons of seats. I also bet these guys actually want to have something to point to and say, this is our plan, not that Rick Scott thing that is really politically damaging. Because Rick Scott wants to raise taxes on half the country and potentially cut Social Security and Medicare, which seems like a bad idea. I think it is
certainly not a popular one.
Not a popular one. It is smart. If you're going to do something like this, you roll it out now, late September when people are paying attention. I think it's probably useful for normal candidates to have something to point to and say, this is the agenda that we're going to work on as a party. I do think it's very funny that the B-roll included Russian oil rigs. It's like kind of too perfect. But yeah, look, the problem for McCarthy, though, is Newt Gingrich could command the media and news cycle as an opposition leader in ways that McCarthy cannot. He can only dream of, in part because Trump is still out there flailing away and dominating the news, on Fox News at least.
Newt Gingrich could also control his caucus in a way that Mark McCarthy clearly can't. I mean, part of Newt Gingrich's contract with America was like a specific set of bills that they were going to introduce. McCarthy doesn't have any of that. He has a parent's Bill of Rights in there, but he doesn't even say what's in there. This isn't like a specific, and the reason he couldn't include a list of bills that he was going to introduce if they win the House is because he can't get the fucking crazies in his caucus, the far right part of the caucus and the rest of the caucus to agree on anything.
And if he can't, and if they could, it would be extremely unpopular. Where they are is extremely unpopular. Being strong and safe and free are popular. Banning abortion and cutting taxes for the rich and stripping the social safety net is not popular. The other piece of this is they have this sort of vicious circle, which is because their policy agenda has been so unpopular, they run on grievance and vilifying Democrats, and then the base now has this taste for blood, so that's all they can really run on. And so this is vague for the same reason the Republicans didn't have a platform in 2020. The Democratic Party, for all of its many... Look, the Democratic Party is perfect. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, we always say that.
We have a policy agenda. The Republican Party doesn't really have a true motivating policy agenda. They have an enemies list. And that's the thing that galvanizes their base. So you have to make this set of vague platitudes so they can get back to doing what they want to do, which is talk about trans people, talk about immigrants, talk about crime.
Yeah, it's like they basically wanted something that was enough to answer what are Republicans for, but not enough detail to potentially split their party or give Democrats fodder for attacks. That's what he was trying to navigate there.
Especially because if they have a slim majority, and we all hope they don't, this is not Kevin McCarthy giving speeches about healthcare policy. This is Matt Gaetz pulling Kevin McCarthy on a leash like the Gimp in Pulp Fiction. It's Jim Jordan impeaching Biden for 1 count of having a son that likes Coke and 2 counts of not building the wall. It's Elise Stefanik going full Brothers of Italy. It's Lindsey Graham passing a nationwide abortion ban and having the first erection in his life he didn't pay for. That's the future. That's the commitment.
Leave that in. You know what I'm saying?
I can hear Andy laughing in the other room.
That's it.
Is she laughing or is she crying?
That's what find B-roll of that. That's what they should be promoting.
B-roll of that. Don't find B-roll.
You know what else I love? I went to their website and you could click on things and expand the policy positions out, and then you go to the next issue. But the website is an infinite loop because it'll just take you back around.
I was very frustrated trying to do research.
Very annoying.
Yeah. Well, it's bullshit all the way down, boys.
So Republicans have offered some details. You guys heard McCarthy talk about firing IRS agents in that clip. As you pointed out, Lovett, that is a lie.
Can we just pause on that?
Let's do it.
Actually, the mainstream media coverage, even the New York Times story, was very annoying. The 87,000 is the amount of IRS staffers that might be hired over a decade. That includes replacing people who will quit, because we're talking about a decade. A lot of it is like IT support, people answering the phones to help you out if you have questions, stuff like that. It's not like 87,000 new auditors start on day one. It's a decade's worth of hiring.
Not at all. Yeah,
it's so stupid.
But here's, I had the same reaction, and then I was like, oh, you know what? We can't do our typical liberal fact check about the IRS.
No, this is our liberal fact check.
Excuse me, nerds, you're wrong about the 87,000.
Why would you set Tommy up to debunk it and then do that?
What was that?
I was mad at myself.
Hey,
I was mad at myself.
You're mad at yourself.
We did
You're
this
yelling
on stage
at me.
at a live show a couple months ago.
You know what Tommy is a good example of? Hurt people. So what should we do, John? If we can't fact check these people.
This is what's getting lost.
What's getting lost?
They are mad that Joe Biden and Democrats made it harder for rich people to cheat on their taxes, and they
of course
they want to make sure that the IRS can't catch rich tax cheats. That's what they. That's
right.
it. That's all it is.
Right. The lie. Forget the. Right. Forget the.
Don't get involved in their 87,000 bullshit.
Well, it's actually like they're saying don't hire people because they're coming after you. The whole reason we need to fix this is because these people have spent years gutting the IRS so that it only targets
So not
middle class and poor
not enough
people.
for rich people to get tax cuts for Republicans. Now they want people to actually break the law and not have to pay taxes if you're rich.
I love this plan.
Anything else you guys found especially notable in there in terms of the details that were on the website that was an endless loop?
I mean, it was perfectly vague. I don't really expect more from someone like McCarthy in this case. I do like when you get a foreign policy section. They're like, okay, here's our 4-bullet foreign policy section. One of the bullets is exercise peace through strength with our allies to counter increasing global threats. Like, that's solved.
That's bold.
One of the 4 education bullets was recover lost learning from school closures. Like, that's a small, easy task that could be handled by the Congress.
Also, not a
I
lot
guess
of
privatization of public schools.
There you go.
right. It's also it's written so vaguely and with so many bromides that you actually can go through it and circle all the things that Democrats are for. One note would be that it only plays just it gives the shortest of shrift to their most important policy agenda, which is banning abortion, which is they've included a line that says they will protect the life of the unborn and their mothers.
Yep.
And it's interesting that they include it's clearly even in that brief sentence, you feel their fear that they've had a lot of overreach on abortion.
Yeah, you can learn from what they don't mention, which was that's the abortion piece. And then interesting to me how much they talked about fentanyl as part of the immigration story. I think that's a huge issue all across the country that doesn't get covered that much. It doesn't seem like they mentioned repealing the ACA. I don't know how new that is, but it's not noted.
They are going after it.
Okay, well they'll get there eventually. I didn't see student debt forgiveness in there, despite all the protestation. The core attacks though were crime, schools, border chaos, and then the like flipping out about women's sports is their other pillar here.
Yes, so that was in there. The ensure that only women can compete in women's sports.
Right.
Not much detail, but make sure that that's in there,
Just
right?
to be-
Not a lot of
to be
detail
bigoted
about
and cruel, yeah.
foreign policy got the 5 words that you said,
Right.
But made sure they had the detail about women's. Yeah.
No detail, but no detail anywhere, but no enemy missed.
Right, exactly. But I do think what's interesting, Tommy, is that they had that one page and then they had the website, and then they all did some interviews out on Friday. And during the interviews, some more of what they're looking for, what they're going to try to do, started leaking out. So they're still going after the Affordable Care Act. They also want to block Medicare from being able to negotiate for cheaper prescription drugs. They want to undo,
which is the opposite of what their plan says.
Incredibly popular provision in the Inflation Reduction Act. McCarthy also said we're going to find out where the origins of COVID started.
Their whole oversight thing, the oversight section is a little fever dream.
Yeah, we should talk about that in a second. But how are you guys feeling about the Republican plan to fight inflation? I thought that was robust.
Yeah, it's basically summarized as cut government spending, which might have made sense, I think, during the COVID era stimulus checks that they all were for back in the day, but doesn't make sense anymore. And then it's pro-growth tax policy and deregulation policy, which, as long as we're being nerds, if that's acceptable with you, John,
it is.
That would lead to more inflation. So
budget cuts and tax cuts. That's all they got.
Basically, the whole inflation platform is saying Biden did it.
It's also just like it's our one economic policy that we've had for the last 50 years. Tax cuts for rich people paid for by cutting healthcare and education.
They're still
playing the hits.
Trump in the streets, Paul Ryan in the sheets.
That's
to this day.
They got nothing else. Data for Progress did a poll of voters in 8 swing states, by the way, and they found that the Democratic messages on Social Security, healthcare, and taxes are the most convincing reasons for voters to vote for Democrats over Republicans. This is a new poll that they had out. So it just goes to show you why they're trying to cover up the Social Security, Medicare stuff, why they're trying to reframe the tax
Rick Scott's
thing
a
into
real
an
idiot.
IRS
Rick Scott is terrible.
This thing is written so vaguely that this does not necessarily contradict the Rick Scott sunsetting plan.
Exactly.
Does not contradict it. That's still active.
And they've all taken votes that line them up with the Rick Scott plan, right? All right, so Republicans won't be able to pass this agenda so long as Joe Biden is president, but they will be able to launch all kinds of investigations, including impeachment proceedings against Biden or his cabinet. Here's South Carolina Republican Nancy Mace on Meet the Press this weekend.
Do you expect an impeachment vote against President Biden if Republicans take over the House?
I believe there's a lot of pressure on Republicans to have that vote, to put that legislation forward and to have that vote. I think that is something that some folks are considering.
Wow.
Again, I'm someone who wants to, I want to follow the Constitution. It's really important. Oversight's important.
But if these impeach Biden votes come up, how are you going to vote?
Again, I'm going to read how that bill is filed, what's in it, what evidence there was. I didn't vote to impeach the former president of the United States because I felt like due process was stripped away. I will not vote for impeachment of any president if I feel that due process has been stripped away for anyone.
What a fine public servant. Do you guys think it's weird that Chuck didn't ask what Republicans might impeach Biden for?
I just skipped that one important question. Would you vote for impeachment? For fucking what? That's like a really big part of it.
It's irrelevant. Point.
Look, I don't know if you're history buffs listening, but that's a big part of it. Why?
This is, this is not a Chuck specific problem though. I mean, like the Republican cynicism around impeachment is so baked into the political cake and expectations for Republicans that they're like, yeah, well, Democrats impeached Trump twice, so Biden should expect to be impeached at least once. Why? Did he hold up military aid to Ukraine? Did he, send a mob into the Capitol? No, whatever. Who cares? Let's not even get into it.
Yeah,
Ted Cruz basically admitted this on his podcast.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, he'll be impeached whether it's justified or not.
Yeah, they're talking about impeaching
just
over the
revenge.
border.
It's just revenge. They
revenge.
will find their reason. They've been floating Afghanistan. They've been floating the border, and they obviously are not fans of Hunter Biden.
Go for it. Impeachment, very unpopular. Turns out with swing voters.
I was going to say it doesn't seem too politically astute for Republicans at this stage in the midterm campaign to openly talk about impeaching Joe Biden.
I think yes, like the MAGA base that they're desperately trying to cling to wants blood and reciprocity. So I think this is a message targeted at those people. I think you talk about this on Fox News and right-wing radio and everywhere else. But no, I mean, I don't think this is your message for swing voters that you're going big with on ads.
Yeah, it's sort of a preview of coming attractions if they do win the House, because they're in that Washington Post story about the Freedom Caucus basically saying we're going to want a whole bunch of changes that give us more power if we're going to ever vote to make Kevin McCarthy speaker. And his only response is, can we just do this after the election, please?
Right. That's what,
please.
No, they don't. Yeah, they might say it to their base, but they don't want to talk about this at all. And I hope they get asked about it more. And I think Democrats should incorporate it into their message. Like, you give Republicans the House, you think that that they're actually gonna take care of inflation, they're gonna do anything that you want to be done. No, they're gonna protect Donald Trump, run investigations for him, run investigations about Biden. It's gonna be investigations for 2 years.
It's gonna be a circus.
It's Trump adjacent stuff. The oversight agenda is like DOJ politicization, which is saying that Trump was unfairly targeted by the FBI, COVID origins, and then big tech censorship. So it's all very Trump adjacent grievance stuff.
Investigate Fauci, investigate.
We should get to the bottom of that guy.
We should get to the bottom of that guy. We should investigate, bring, Hal Garland down there. Kevin McCarthy already said, clear your calendar to Merrick Garland because he had the audacity to try to retrieve the nuclear secrets that Trump stole and stashed in his fucking beach house.
Clear your
so they're going to do that for a couple of years.
You shouldn't clear his calendar. Propose some fucking dates. We're trying to run a government here.
Honestly, the most annoying ask, do you have time for lunch in the next 6 weeks?
You propose dates.
Send me the invite.
You send the dates, and then I'll say I'm busy.
I'll either say accept or I'll say tentative.
Do you have time for a quick call about what?
About what?
Could it be an email? Kevin.
So Lovett, you mentioned that there's only one reference to abortion in the platform, a promise to protect the lives of unborn children and their mothers. This is, of course, after Lindsey Graham proposed a national abortion ban just a few weeks ago, and after just this weekend when a judge in Arizona ruled that an 1864 law in that state that bans nearly all abortions must now take effect because of the Dobbs decision. Republicans in competitive races clearly do not want to talk about abortion. Is that a plausible strategy at this point?
Plausible strategy? I mean, I'm sure that's what they'll try to do. It's our job to make sure it doesn't work and remind everyone everywhere all the time that that abortion is on the ballot in every congressional race. Abortion is on the ballot in every statewide race, and drive home the point that they can try to moderate all they want in the 3 weeks before an election, but they are on the record for the year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years before. And no matter what they say, no matter how they try to align with their actual agenda, their goal is to ban abortion everywhere without regard for the health of women and pregnant people. That's it.
And this is especially true now in Arizona, which has some of the tightest and most competitive midterm races in the country. Tommy, what do we know about where the major candidates are on this issue in Arizona and how this ruling might change the race?
I mean, the ruling in Arizona just put into place an abortion law that mandates 2 to 5 years in prison for anyone who provides abortion services. So Blake Masters was incredibly anti-abortion. He just scrubbed his website, though, so we don't really know anymore. It's all a big mystery now.
Yeah, and everything disappears.
Carrie
on the
Lake
internet.
is also a right-wing loon, although until recently she was an Obama supporter. So, I think the job is to tie these candidates around this decision and make a very compelling case. The hard part is going to be when they all try to pull a DeSantis and change the conversation to immigration, crime, inflation, and manufacture a caravan narrative with Fox News, and that's the fight.
And one other piece too is just this is not perspective anymore. It's already happening, right? This is already happening. People are already having to leave states to get health care. Women with issues unrelated to being pregnant or being unable to get the treatment and care that they need in states that have put in place bans. So it's here that they are getting exactly what they want. They can't pretend they're not. It's not for the future. It's now.
I think in the Pennsylvania governor's race, one thing that's really hurt Doug Mastriano, aside from being a fucking lunatic,
everything,
is we say abortion's on the ballot everywhere. In Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano is governor. He signs an abortion ban on day one, full, complete abortion ban. If he's not, if Josh Shapiro is governor, abortion remains legal in Pennsylvania, right? Like, it's that simple. Arizona, now Carrie Lake and Blake Masters are sort of in that position in Arizona. Blake Masters tried to erase the website, even though he is called.
He does his own web IT stuff.
So
he's their excuse. Yeah,
no, he does not use Squarespace.
He
he has called abortion demonic. He wanted a constitutional amendment to ban abortion. That's how extreme it was. Carrie Lake said, this weekend in response to this, she said, "Oh, I'm pro-life," and she started attacking Katie Hobbs for saying, she's like, "Oh, well, she's saying that if you have a miscarriage, she's confusing it with abortion care." Well, it's like, you know what? All the abortion clinics in Arizona are shutting down now. So health of the mother, life of the mother, whatever it may be, women are not going to have access to abortion care.
It's nearly identical, an abortion and the care you have to receive after miscarriage. It's the exact same fucking thing. So do not try to let anyone fuzz this up.
Ted Cruz was doing the same thing over the weekend, trying to say that, we're all for the health and life of the mother. We would never do that. Well, when abortion access is banned everywhere and a doctor has to fucking call a lawyer before giving a woman care because they're not sure if it's within the letter of the fucking random law that was written 100 years ago.
And re-upped in 1906, right, with the lawyer could get 2 to 5 years. By the way, Doug Mastriano, to your question of can they avoid talking about this issue? I mean, that's a guy who is just running something interesting, like an off-the-grid campaign where he doesn't talk to any mainstream media. He just does like the QAnon variety hour on Twitch or whatever.
Doesn't get a lot of folks coming to these rallies either.
50 people, 50 showed up at his event.
Not raising a lot of money
over the weekend.
But that is interesting. And when I did this focus group in Pittsburgh, I talked to Rebecca Katz, who's John Fetterman's senior advisor, and Malcolm Kenyatta, who ran against Fetterman in the primary. And I was asking them about, is Josh Shapiro, do you think, is he going to go big on democracy as a theme because of Mastriano and Mastriano wanting to overturn the election? And they were like, no, I think the easier play here is abortion. They're like, you have to be creative about it. He wants to ban abortion in the state of Pennsylvania completely. That is unbelievably unpopular. And if he just runs on that issue the whole time, he could definitely win. And sure enough, he's ahead in the poll. So we shall see. All right. When we come back, we'll talk to our old pal, David Plouffe. The presenting sponsor of Pod Save America is SimpliSafe. Unfortunately, not all home security companies really put your safety first. They defend their bottom line better than they defend your home. Ouch. Ouch. From overcharging for monitoring services and locking you into a binding contract to keep you paying. But not SimpliSafe Home Security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters with 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. Their monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch, which is what Lovett has. That's
you
what
bet
he
I
gets
do.
because he has SimpliSafe.
I do.
And it protects him very well, and Pundit, which is important.
100%.
Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/crooked. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/crooked. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Pod Save America is brought to you by Thuma.
Uma.
Your bedroom deserves a refresh, and now's the perfect time to elevate the most important room in your home with Thuma. Introducing The Bed by Thuma, handcrafted from eco-friendly, high-quality, upcycled wood. You'll find beautiful, unique variations in the natural grain. The minimalist design featuring Japanese joinery helps elevate any space. It's super supportive for your mattress, breathable, and made to naturally minimize noise and create space. The perfect platform bed frame just got better. You can now customize the bed by choosing between our original pillow board or our new solid wood headboard. The fabric pillow board adds softness and color to any space, while the headboard offers solid, sleek support. The headboard attaches directly to the bed using Japanese joinery. That's the second time I've said that, with no tools required. Buy it with the bed or on its own as an upgrade. Made for how you live, the bed by Thuma is backed with a lifetime warranty, ships right to your door in 3 easy-to-maneuver boxes, and takes about 5-ish minutes to assemble with no tools required. You can easily build it yourself. Lovett, tell us about your new Thuma.
Here's the thing about it is it's not like look, we're not allowed to say other companies. Right? I was strictly warned against talking about other companies.
Don't
and
do
you
it.
know,
Don't
the
do
other
it.
companies,
Don't do it.
it comes in it's in a flat pack, and you get a tool and there's instructions that just have pictures.
No,
and your fingers hurt.
You've lost me already.
And there's hexagonal tools. There's none of that. It actually all just fits together because it has this special way. It's built so that you just slide the pieces together with no tool. It's just an amazing, simple way to put it together, and I highly recommend it. And it's a beautiful looking bed. You're gonna really like it.
There you go. Create that feeling of checking into your favorite boutique hotel suite, but at home with the bed by Thuma. And now go to thuma.co/PSA to receive a $25 credit towards your purchase of the bed plus free shipping in the continental U.S. Go to thuma.co/PSA. That's THUMA.co/PSA for a $25 credit. Pod Save America is brought to you by Aspiration. When it comes to saving the planet, there's no neutrality. If you keep your money in most standard bank accounts, they're lending your deposits out to fund oil and coal. Switch to the planet side and get Aspiration. Aspiration's a climate-friendly alternative to big banks. Get an account and debit card that's built to help your wallet and the planet. Moving $1,000 to an Aspiration Plus account has the same impact as driving 6,000 miles less. Plus, you can earn up to 71 times as much interest than at your old bank. Aspiration is fossil fuel free and lets you plant a tree by rounding up every swipe of your debit card. Aspiration's been hard at work helping people align their money with their values, funding the planting of over 100 million trees on the way to funding the planting of 1 billion by 2030. It's no wonder why Forbes, NerdWallet, and the Penny Hoarder recommend Aspiration for the eco-conscious. Best of all, there's no credit check, no overdraft fees, and with Aspiration, you just pay what you think is fair, even if that's zero. Wow. Because money shouldn't stand in the way of you doing the right thing. Make your dollars make a difference. Open an Aspiration account at aspiration.com/crookeddebit and move your money out of fossil fuels. Help save the planet with your Aspiration debit card. Open your account at aspiration.com/crookeddebit today. Aspiration.com/crookeddebit. Terms and conditions apply. Pod Save America is brought to you by Cariuma, rooted in surf and skateboarding. They're reimagining classic sneakers with you and the planet in mind. September always takes us back, if not to school, back to reality. Coming off summer...
Oops, there goes gravity.
Coming off summer, we could all use a soft landing, and choosing the right footwear is a good place to start. We're fans of Cariuma's original low top, which is handcrafted from sustainably sourced materials like organic cotton, raw rubber, and cork. The classic look means you need only one pair, but try them on and you might wonder if one is enough. Optional question prompt. I'm gonna exercise that option. How many pairs of sneakers do you own?
Oh, so I have too many. I have too many.
I got about 3, 4. They're all Cariumas.
They're all Cariumas.
Honestly, it's not a lie. Not a lie, folks.
He's a Cariumian.
My word is a Biden. It's no secret the way people love the Aka, with tens of thousands of 5-star reviews and waitlist 60,000 and counting. Maybe you'll get lucky and snag a pair from our Vote Save America collaboration, or upgrade to ultra soft suede for fall.
I'm gonna start using that. My word is a Biden. It's great.
You just drop it
Just
anyway.
throw it in.
But the biggest difference between these sneakers and other classic sneakers, beyond premium materials and handcrafted quality, Aka is seriously comfortable. And we all know comfort comes first, whether you're running to catch the train or an early morning swell. Of course, for every pair of sneakers sold, Cariuma team plants 2 of over 120 native tree species in the Brazilian rainforest. Their co-founders, David and Fernando, both grew up in Brazil, so this project's especially close to home. Cariuma ships fast and free in the USA, in addition to worldwide shipping and 60-day extended returns, free of charge. They deliver right to your front door using single-box recycled packaging. And for a limited time, Pod Save America listeners can get an exclusive 15% off your pair of Cariuma sneakers. Go to cariuma.com/crooked to get 15% off. That's cariuma.com/crooked for 15% off, only for a limited time.
Hey, David Plouffe, question for you. Are you ready to apologize for the fact that trying to beat Mitt Romney destroyed democracy? Oh my God. Why didn't you realize when you were running a campaign against Mitt Romney that what you should have done is just waved a little white flag and shown him how to get into the White House, because otherwise Republicans would decide then that they were fucking fascist.
He's just trying to bait Plouffe, aren't you?
We should keep that in, and you do the intro, and we should roll from here.
You
should keep that in.
Yeah, we're keeping it in.
Well, perfect. On the pod today, in case you didn't know, former Obama campaign manager and senior White House advisor, our old boss and current podcast colleague. The first few episodes of his new season of CampaignHQ are out now. David Plouffe, welcome back to the pod.
Well, John, I never thought we'd be referred to in that way. Podcast colleagues.
I don't consider us podcast colleagues. I consider us podcast competitors.
That was the dream
Yeah,
in
well,
2008,
I don't know.
Plouffe. That's why we signed up. We knew that someday we'd be podcasters.
I'm in the single A. But the minor leagues are good. It's lovely ballparks, and
Yeah, you get
it's
to know
a
the
more
fans.
intimate experience. Yes, exactly.
You get invited on Hacks on Tap once in a while.
Ooh. Sweet gig if you can get it.
Yeah.
All right, Plouffe, we're 6 weeks out. How you feeling about these midterms?
Well, John, I know you're on the polar coaster. I know Tommy and John try and keep you off that.
Plouffe.
It's hard.
John
Listen,
literally turned
I
to
know
me
you're
and
gonna-
Lovett the other day, and he said, "It's getting chilly outside. Some fall weather. Going to be some polls soon." And he wasn't
That's
kidding.
word for word.
He wasn't
word
kidding.
for word. It's getting chilly out. Rubbed his hands together.
I said it
We're
reminded
gonna
me-
get some polls soon.
Lovett and I
It's a
just died.
disturbing image.
Sorry to interrupt.
I did say
It was
that.
so sweet. It was like you got to see him as a little boy for a moment.
Anyway, sorry.
Are you in your 40s yet, Favreau?
I
You in
am,
your 40s now?
unfortunately.
Oh, he's
I'm
deep
40
in 'em.
I'm
This is
40
what
I'm
happens.
41.
You can barely see 40.
Yeah, you get excited about polls in the winter. These didn't happen to you in the 20s. But listen, I think that a couple of things can be true. The environment's as good as any Democrat had any right to hope, probably 4 or 6 months ago. And this is still a super challenging election. So we always talk about the outliers in off years. 2002 was one when Bush was president in the aftermath of 9/11, 98. Which was a result of, a Republican overreach on impeachment. But let's remember, even in that election, which is a great Democratic election, we won 0 Senate seats and won 5 House seats. So this is going to be really hard. We're the party in power. I think about 25% of Americans say the economy is in good shape, but they're balancing that off with, Dobbs, abortion, the fight for democracy, the fact that the Republican brand and many Republican candidates are just shit awful. So you put that all together, and I think you might have said 6 months ago we wouldn't have had a chance to hold the Senate and we'd lose 50 House seats. Now it looks like we have a chance to hold the House, or at least keep those gains very minimal, so we can win it back in 24. And the Senate looks quite plausible. And a lot of these governor's races look positive. That being said, it's going to be super close. We shouldn't kid ourselves. Here's the thing about the polar coaster, John. When one party is doing well in polls, and that's tended to be us the last 6 years, but it's been Republicans in other cycles, you're at your ceiling in polls. You're like 49, 48, and the other opponent's at 44. Well, they're going to get most vote back. So what matters is 100% of the vote, and how does that get allocated? And my sense is Republicans are going to gain from that dynamic. But right now, in most states, particularly in the Senate, I'd rather be us than them, and that's a pretty remarkable thing to say.
So, David, I listened to the last 3 episodes of CampaignHQ. You went deep on Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Georgia. The weirdest race, if we can start there, I'd say is Pennsylvania, because you've got Fetterman and Shapiro running like pretty not traditional campaigns. Like Fetterman's not a traditional candidate. They're running a really smart digital campaign, but they're running campaigns. They're running TV ads. They're doing interviews and stuff. You have Dr. Oz, who's a weirdo, but he's running a recognizable race, and he's going to spend money and he's going to talk to the press. And then you have Doug Mastriano, who's a Republican candidate for governor, who's just on Mars, right? The guy is not running TV ads. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't talk to mainstream media sources. And it's like he's just running kind of like a QAnon adjacent kind of weird strategy. How do you figure out how to run against that? Like, this guy's running an off the grid strategy. You're trying to run a traditional strategy. Like, how do they figure this out?
Well, I think their digital and their social has been pretty smart and modern and not super traditional. I mean, so I think in that way they've really run, I think, a campaign a lot of Democrats can learn from. Fetterman's now getting back out on the trail. So that's the other thing about that campaign. Your candidate was sidelined for a long time. So it's super challenging. So listen, what's an election? Election's about candidates, and it's about messages, and it's about timing. It's about so many things, as you guys know, but it's also about math. How many votes do I need to win? Pennsylvania is a perfect example of what does it require to win? A Democrat, by definition, has to win the center of the electorate because there's more conservatives than liberals in Pennsylvania. And you've got to make sure you either win the turnout game or don't get walloped. So I think Fetterman and Shapiro, both in different ways, are making appeals to the true swing voters that live outside of Pittsburgh, in those suburbs outside of Philadelphia, in the center part of the state around Harrisburg, but also trying to motivate the base. So I think those two races may diverge a little bit. I mean, again, we can't believe a poll, but it does look like Shapiro may win that race. When, you're not winning Pennsylvania by 20 points, but he may win it by, a margin. And the Senate race is likely to be a little bit more close. And so I think if you're the Fetterman campaign, you have to understand who are those voters, who actually is considering Shapiro and Oz, and what's the best way to tear them off Oz. That is probably the campaign within a campaign that's most important. And then, of course, are you going to get the turnout of Philadelphia? And that affects both Shapiro and Fetterman. The one thing I'm sure that's going to happen again is the Republicans are coming out. They're going to come out like zombies. They're coming out like a horde we should all be very afraid of. So that's the thing you just bake into the cake. We saw it in 16. We saw it in 18, despite what happened in the House. They had really good turnout in a lot of places, and we certainly saw it in 20. They're coming out in big, big numbers. And so that's the question. And if you're Fetterman, the thing they're very focused on trying to eat into some of these exurban and rural margins. Biden did a good job of that. So, if you can lose these outlying counties by 65-35 rather than 75-25, that all adds up in a close race. So I think they're running a smart race. But I do think that those two races, of all the states you look around the country that are battleground states, that one has the potential for the most divergence. When I say most divergence, we're talking about 10 points. But is it possible that those races are, not within 2 or 3 points of each other? It's possible.
Fetterman is a uniquely good candidate. Dr. Oz seems to be a uniquely bad candidate. And yet I think everybody has been watching that race and saying, wow, the Fetterman campaign seems to be having a lot of fun. They're doing incredible things online. And what aspects of what they've been doing to just make their campaign seem like a fun one to be a part of, you think other Democrats could be replicating, even if they're not going up against someone as conducive to mockery as Oz?
Well, John, you do have to be authentic to your candidate and campaign. So that's a lesson we've all learned, which is you just can't plug and play. So Fetterman seems to be someone, this kind of campaign suits him, but I think they're not, they don't focus group and test everything they do. They just go with their gut. And what I love is it's probably a bunch of people 22, 23, 24 saying, I think this is a good idea. And there's not a lot of friction to get that out in the ether. So I love that. So I think more campaigns have to be more comfortable with throwing an errant pass every once in a while. And I think to really be tough on your opponent. They've really gone at Dr. Oz's character, I think, in a really, really strong way. And I think they understand elections. I wish elections were about policy papers and distinctions on tax rates and how many people get health care and don't. That's not what politics is today. It's a performance, unfortunately. And I think they get that. Now, of course, that's got to be undergirded by values and who you're fighting for and your biography and your story. But I think they understand that it's a performance, and you got to go out there every day and put your opponent on the defensive and have some fun. So again, I wish politics wasn't in that state in the year 2022, but it is. That's why when we think about who's going to run for president in 24 or 28, let's forget the resume or the paper. In a way, Obama changed that. Trump changed that. I'm still naive enough to think it should matter that someone should be a good president, but you don't have to have a long resume. Like when you think about all the Democratic candidates, people say, particularly if Biden doesn't run, or even if he does run in 28, we've got no bench. You look at all the people running this time: Tim Ryan, Fetterman, Mark Kelly, Val Demings, Stacey Abrams, Beasley. All these people could run for president, whether they win their race or not. And so I think that we have to understand that this is much more performance than policy. And that's just something the Republicans have understood, I think, much more consistently than we have.
What do you think's going on in Nevada? Because I think of all of the Democratic incumbents who are up, I sort of worry about Cortez Masto the most. And I think she's a great candidate and running a good race, but it seems like that, and I listened to your interview with John Ralston, it sounds like that state is sort of drifting away from Democrats a bit. Biden sort of didn't really overperform Hillary in that state, unlike he did in almost every other state, competitive swing state. And I'm just not quite sure what's going on there. But what's your read on that race?
Well, first of all, John, as it relates to 24, we should be very concerned about that. As you know, I know you probably spend a lot of time on the websites where you piece together the 270 electoral votes. And in a close election, Nevada plays a pretty critical role in a lot of those scenarios. Yeah. And so, yes, Nevada is trending in a challenging. We see Wisconsin's doing the same thing. Nevada, as excited as we get about Georgia and Arizona, as we should, and hopefully at some point Texas will join that party. It's concerning. So I think that, and there's no doubt that, listen, I think the pandemic hurt the Nevada economy in an outsized way. I think you are seeing some Republican gains with non-college voters of color there, particularly men, which is concerning. I'd say this, though. Laxalt is a shit candidate. He doesn't get the headlines that Walker gets or Masters gets, but this guy's got a long history. He ran for governor. He's not particularly popular. So, I do think Masto has benefited in that candidate. But yeah, I mean, I think that she's a first-term candidate. Nevada's got a lot of transient folks. It's not like she's got a deep relationship with a lot of people in that state, so I worry about that. I think the governor's race is going to be close as well. There's also 3 toss-up House races.
Yeah.
In that relatively small state, so yeah, it's going to require holding your vote share with Hispanic voters and certainly with Black voters, getting the right kind of turnout. You got to blow out Clark County, not just the city but the suburbs, and then you've got Washoe County. You remember when we ran back in 08 and 12, that was one of the definitive swing counties in the country. It's now moved more blue.
Yeah.
But that's been counteracted by some of those exurban rural areas really, really turning deep, deep, deep red. So I think both of those races are a sheer toss-up. I think Cortez Masto got lucky that Laxalt's her candidate and it wasn't somebody who's kind of a fresher face. The other thing about Nevada is, I mean, the Secretary of State there is an election denier. You've got other down ballot candidates for Republicans statewide who are election deniers. I mean, they've gone completely off the deep end there.
Yeah.
And so it's concerning because, I mean, I don't know. We don't know who's going to, is it Biden, Trump, or there are other matchups in 24, but hard to believe Nevada won't be close. And so if we have that Secretary of State on the Republican side presiding over that election, it gets even scarier.
It's been interesting seeing the different strategies evolve in the major races in Georgia. Stacey Abrams has really embraced Biden. I think it's a little more of a nationalized race. She seems a little more comfortable sounding partisan. Senator Warnock he's not attacking Biden, but he's not clinging to him. He's emphasizing working with anyone, going anywhere, that kind of message. Do you think that those strategy differences are born of necessity, given how they've been maybe defined in the states differently, or are these differences in approach? Like, what did you take away from that?
Well, listen, some of your listeners will think this is defeatist, but if you're a federal statewide candidate in a southern state, certainly this is true in any battleground state, you have to be a little more careful. And again, I think, we don't live in a West Wing episode where you can say the most liberal thing and voters genuflect and you win. This is still a really, really tough country. The Senate is stacked against us. The Electoral College is stacked against us. So again, as you guys remember, in presidential races, I mean, we win the popular vote with great regularity, but to win the Electoral College, you have to win the middle and you have to do well enough on the base. And so I think if you're someone like Warnock, to appeal to those voters that got you there in the first place, of course, you're not going to trim your sails on the things you believe about, but you've got to talk about, I've worked with the Republicans and you're not going to be the same flamethrower. So I think it is. I think with Abrams, the challenge is, and she's running a great race, obviously, and she's a hero to all of us, is Kemp is benefiting from the fact that Trump attacked him. There's just no question about that. I mean, Raffensperger may walk to, we have a great Secretary of State candidate running against him too, but clearly he's benefited from this. There's a lesson there, by the way. I don't think many Republicans will take it, but if you stand up to this guy just a little bit and somehow you can survive your primary, the general electorate will reward you.
Yeah. We've been talking about how these Republican candidates are shit, as you said, and have given Democrats sort of a target-rich environment. If you were running a Democratic campaign right now, we got 6 weeks to go, what would you be having your candidate talk about every day? What would most of your ads be about? What would you zero in on?
Well, John, I that all depends on who you're running against and where the polls are and kind of what progress you're making against your vote goal or not. But I think campaigns have always had to be a balance between, and again, if you're an incumbent, you definitely need to make this a referendum, not a choice. But no matter who you are, open seat, challenger, incumbent, there's got to be a blend of here's what I'll do, here's who I am, here's who I'm fighting for. And again, policy secondary to the values, the policy that supports that. You always did a great job, all you guys, in all your communication, understanding that when you were writing releases and speeches. So you've got to do both. There's got to be positive out there, there's got to be comparative, and there's got to be rip-roaring negative. Like, you just got to paint the picture of what will happen if this person gets elected, specifically, and then generally their party takes control. Democracy's probably over. Women are going to lose even more healthcare rights. They'll try and ban abortion on the federal level. They'll cut taxes for the wealthy, even as we're losing jobs in what looks like to be a recession. Like, you got to paint the picture, and none of that is gilding the lily, because the evidence is there. But again, if you're managing a campaign, it's there's dials. How do I get to the number of votes I need to get to? And a lot of that's geographic breakdowns, it's demographic breakdowns, but it's a blend of making sure you're winning enough true swing voters, and they still exist, and making sure, every race I ran, you tried to overestimate your opponent. Like, they're going to turn out more voters than we think. So if our model says they're going to have 100 voters turn out, let's assume they turn out 110. Can we beat that? So that's the challenging thing. Now, we have seen candidates throughout history in our party be able to have the same message that can both motivate and persuade swing voters and excite the base. And so I think what I would do in the close of a campaign is just, all that matters is my vote goal. and maybe you do a little more persuasion because you're feeling better out the base, or maybe not, or maybe it's 50-50. But also to put your opponent on the defensive. A lot of people decide to vote, to volunteer at the end. A lot of people haven't even checked into these elections, even though ballots are starting to go off. So timing's important. So you want to make sure you've left some good moments here for the end, so you can close in a really, really strong way. I mean, I think that's one of the challenges. If you remember back in 2016, the last debate ended so early in that presidential race. Hillary had like 3 weeks. And I think that was a long way to the finish line.
Yeah, plus you had James Comey jumping out of trash cans.
Jimmy C.
So, you talked about the environment being tough, and yet we've had a few places where there are these sort of glimmers of hope. You had New York 19, you had that vote in Kansas around abortion access. What lessons do you draw from those surprising wins on abortion and how it should play, and what lessons don't you draw from it?
Well, listen, those are actual elections, not polls. So I think we should all pay a lot of attention to them. And that should make us feel optimistic. So here, the Kansas election was only about abortion. So lesson one is, to the extent your race can be about abortion more than anything else, that's a good thing. So I would keep that front and center with great ferocity. And turnout was pretty strong. So I think that, doesn't mean you at all rest on your laurels, but as you're thinking about what kind of turnout you can get, whether that's a House race or a Senate race or a governor's race, I think you should be looking at the outer edge of what's possible. So, but not every no race is only about abortion. But listen, if you're running for the Senate, every state that has a competitive Senate race is at least 2/3 pro-choice. Every state, no matter what, like Blake Masters is erasing his fucking, stuff on his website. Who cares? Like, this was his position. And if he gets elected, the first bill he's going to vote on is to ban abortion federally. And that's the other thing. This law in Arizona that just got greenlit.
Yeah.
That could make the difference in governor's race, secretary of state race, and Senate race, because it's real.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's the thing to remember, John. Yeah.
What's your advice to all these campaign managers out there who are trying to run races? They believe everything you're saying right now, but the last 3 weeks of the election, we have another caravan, right? Or another DeSantis, sort of like immigration specific stunt. And they try to change the message to the border and crime. Like, what would you do, or what would you advise people to do when that happens, for how to manage those closing weeks?
Well, first of all, not to listen to people my generation, because we're like out of touch with how you communicate today. That would be my first example. So, but I'd say this. So history is important here. I think our party, for the most part in the media, thinks Republicans are geniuses. Okay, let's remember, the caravan did not work. That was 2018. What was 2020? There's going to be MS-13 people camping out in your backyard, raping your, family members. That didn't work either. So I think we should be careful about assigning too much value to their stunts. So I would just execute your game plan. And there's a lot of things that you can crucify every Republican candidate on. And so keep that front and center. And again, all these campaigns have plenty of money. So you can communicate the message you want to communicate to who you want to communicate it to. Very different than when you're in office, when you're much more at the whims of, the press story. So I think you just, you've got your game plan. It's kind of like a football coach who comes in with their first 20 plays. You know what you're going to do those last 3 or 4 weeks, and you just doesn't mean that you can't react to an outside event. But for the most part, particularly as it relates to your advertising and your content and what you're driving on the ground, you just got to stay focused on that. So there'll be something, we know that. But again, I think we think that all this stuff has worked so well in the past. What was, 2012? Remember, Obama's going to cut Medicare. And, they get all these plaudits from pundits about how brilliant they are putting Republicans on the Democrats on the defensive. And generally, it hasn't worked.
Yeah. Don't freak out. Stick to the game plan. That's good advice.
Run your race.
David Plouffe, thank you so much for joining us and for your wisdom. And everyone go check out CampaignHQ. It's a fantastic podcast.
After you're done with your crooked pods.
Yeah, you got to get through that whole library.
Yeah,
that's
you
like
have extra
day.
time.
So once you're done with Monday, then you can download stuff on Tuesday. Yes.
Thanks, Plouffe.
Thanks, Bob.
Great to be with
Good
you
to
guys.
see you.
All right,
Bye.
talk to you soon. Pod Save America is brought to you by Smile Actives. Are you self-conscious about your smile due to stains? Are your teeth aging you? Popular food and drinks are known to stain teeth. Beverages like coffee and wine stain them over time. So what can you do to brighten your smile?
What can you do?
You should give Smile Actives a try.
Just give it a try.
Smile Actives is safe, effective, easy to use, and will keep you smiling proudly. Rant about things that can really stain your teeth. Coffee.
Wine. Diet Coke without a straw. Look,
Paint.
These liberals, paint can stain it. These liberals have been taking straws away from us all over the place. What's that causing? More stained teeth.
Yep, that's right. Fortunately, now you can try Smile Actives at home or anywhere, anytime. Smile Actives offers a safe and affordable alternative to those expensive whitening procedures. Simply add Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel to your regular toothpaste. It's been formulated with polyclean technology to boost stain removal and deliver active whitening ingredients into teeth grooves and crannies to get better whitening. So no change in your routine, no extra time, yet people will start commenting on your whiter, brighter smile in just days. Smile Actives is the whitening boost your favorite toothpaste needs to give you the smile you deserve. 97% of Smile Actives users in a clinical trial reported up to 6 shades whiter on average, all within 30 days. Visit smileactives.com/crooked today to receive our special buy one, get one free offer and free shipping and handling. That's smileactives.com/crooked. Pod Save America is brought to you by Aura. Did you know that consumers lose far more money as a result of online crime than home burglaries, yet they continue to spend 10 times more to protect their home? That's why we're excited to partner with Aura. Aura is a simple online safety app built for modern threats. It monitors and protects your family's identity, finances, device, passwords, and more, all in one easy-to-use app. Aura is on a mission to create a safer internet. And for Aura, that not only means creating the best security products, it means making it so easy you actually use it. Easily keep your passwords safe and secure, like automatically updating vulnerable passwords on selected sites. You can also keep your connection private on public Wi-Fi with one-click encryption. Quickly know if someone has attempted to use your identity or credit without your permission with alerts to your app, phone, or email up to 4 times faster than competitors. Kids are common ID theft victims too, and often they have no idea until adulthood when they apply for credit. Aura monitors your child's identity as well to avoid a nightmare for them down the road. Also, Aura doesn't just catch threats, they help you resolve them. With 24/7 US-based supports and dedicated resolution agents, Aura's team will be there for you to resolve fraud issues, even if it means getting on a 3-way call with your bank at midnight. Now, for a limited time, Aura is offering our listeners a 14-day trial plus a check of your data to see if you've already been part of a data breach. All for free when you visit aura.com/crooked. Go to aura.com/crooked and sign up for a 14-day free trial to see if you've already been part of a data breach for free. That's aura.com/crooked. Certain terms apply. See site for details. Aura, the new standard in digital safety. Pod Save America is brought to you by MindBloom. The struggles we face with our mental health can loom large over our lives. Maybe yours, maybe someone you love. You've tried everything, or have you? MindBloom is the solution for the next chapter in mental health and well-being. MindBloom is the leader in at-home ketamine therapy, offering a combination of science-backed medicine.
My first time being here for this.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow. A combination of science-backed medicine with clinician and guide support for people looking to improve their mental health and well-being. MindBloom connects patients to licensed psychiatric clinicians to help them achieve better outcomes with lower costs, greater convenience, and artfully crafted experience. To begin, take MindBloom's online assessment and schedule a video consultation with a licensed clinician to determine if MindBloom is right for you. If approved, you'll discuss your health history and goals for mental health treatment with your clinician to tailor your MindBloom regimen. MindBloom will send you a kit in the mail, complete with medicine, treatment materials, and tips for getting the most out of your experience. After only 2 sessions, 87% of MindBloom clients reported improvements in depression and 85% reported improvements in anxiety. It's time to enter the next chapter in mental health and well-being. Let MindBloom guide you. Right now, MindBloom's offering our listeners $100 off your first 6-session program when you sign up at mindbloom.com/crooked and use promo code crooked at checkout. Go to mindbloom.com/crooked, promo code crooked for $100 off your first 6-session program today. That's mindbloom.com/crooked, promo code crooked. Okay, before we go, one of our intrepid producers, Olivia Martinez, is here in studio to host a new game the team came up with today. Olivia, take it away.
What's up? I'm Olivia, a producer here at Crooked, and I'm the deputy chief Make the Guys Play Games on the Show officer here on Pod Save America.
Who's the chief?
Hallie Kiefer.
Right on.
She's
That's
hilarious.
true.
Shout out to Hallie.
Yep.
Today I'm here to host a new game we've developed called Q Tier. Shout out to Elijah for this awesome idea. Here's how it works. I will give you an unhinged conservative quote, and you tell me what tier that quote belongs on. All right, bottom tier, in our D tier, we have borderline normal. Going up a level in unhingedness is C tier, your uncle's Facebook page. B tier is Fox News addict. A tier is InfoWars supplement users. And finally, our God tier, the GOAT tier, the Q tier.
Nice.
All right, but here's the thing. In order for us to move on, you have to agree on where every single one of these quotes should go.
Oh, all three of us have to
Yeah,
agree?
Yeah,
we're
we'll
trying to get consensus.
This is like an early 2000s Homeland Security threat level vibe.
Sure.
I
Yep,
like
that's
it.
what I'm going
Okay,
for.
great.
Yeah.
Great.
And we're ranking the quotes, not the person. Just this one specific incident from
Okay.
each person.
So try to just not think about the
make it-
person in
Yeah.
your rankings.
Just
Hate
a
the sin,
snapshot.
love the sinner.
There you go.
Ready? You ready to play?
Yeah.
On Friday, Tudor Dixon made fun of the failed kidnapping attempt against her opponent, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Here is a clip.
The sad thing is that Gretchen will tie your hands, put a gun to your head, and ask if you're ready to talk. For someone so worried about being kidnapped, Gretchen Whitmer sure is good at taking business hostage and holding it for ransom.
I mean,
It's like somebody took
That-
a Chuck Schumer style soundbite, and like put it through the sociopath machine.
yeah, because it's
pithy.
It's
like-
well, it's not pithy. It's cheesy.
It's cheesy. I
It's
mean,
cheesy
It's-
and all, but also evil.
yes, it's evil. It's more evil than like
Evil
with gas.
cheese.
You're getting squeezed at the pump. Well, I'm going to squeeze
Right.
the government right back for you. But
Right.
but it's about a kidnapping.
But it's about a
Yeah.
kidnapping.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Taken.
Fox News addict.
Yeah, I agree.
would
I think
say
it's B
I
tier.
would say B tier.
Okay,
Does
yeah.
anyone have a?
I would have said A or B.
I think it's more
gone with
Just
A
it's
or
so
B.
early in the game.
Yes.
I think it's
wanna-
B.
There-
I think it's B.
I don't
Also,
want.
I
I
don't
don't want any Q inflation.
I know
She
we're
doesn't
supposed to
actually
ignore
call for a
this,
kidnapping.
But the name Tudor Dixon is it does a lot.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
That alone could be its own thing.
It's a B. It's a B.
B. B tier. Okay.
It's a B.
All right.
Okay.
Great job on consensus.
Thanks, Olivia.
All right.
Don't patronize us.
Number 2, Twitter baddie Maggie Haberman has
No.
a new Trump book coming out
Twitter
called
baddie.
Confidence Man. That's another name we can talk about.
How
I
dare
don't love
Maggie
it.
report what she hears?
She
Stop doing that.
She previewed the book in The Atlantic today by recounting a conversation she had with Trump about January 6th. The former president apparently told Mike Pence, "Mike, you have a chance to be Thomas Jefferson or you can be Mike Pence." He chose to be Mike Pence.
That's so funny.
How cute is it to tell Mike Pence to throw out the Constitution a la the election of 1800?
Huh. Hard one.
Well, it's
Yeah, God, has everything been normalized?
Yeah,
Much
I
like the
know.
resistance
Yeah,
feared.
it's got to be an A tier.
well,
But it's sort of like
it's
it's like you could have been Thomas Jefferson.
Evil interpretations of the Constitution have been used by others to great effect.
wow.
Okay.
You lost
Tommy
me.
Beschloss over here. Let's. All right, fine. I'm okay with A. I guess I'm okay with A.
Yeah, I don't feel great about
I don't love it, but it's fine. A.
You
Can
guys
I
are-
ask how many of you know what happened in the government of the election of 1800?
we
it's
do.
pretty
but,
fuzzy. Pretty fuzzy.
You let us know if you
Pretty
do.
fuzzy. I'm just gonna be honest.
I know everything about it, but I don't really want to talk about it right now. Let's keep going.
Okay, cool. I actually
What
was
happened,
just
Olivia?
wondering which one of you was the biggest history buff. I thought it'd be Tommy.
No.
No?
I'm not.
No.
Strike out.
you
All right.
just- Do you know?
I don't. I
Oh,
was
I
hoping
thought
one
you
of
were
you
gonna
would
tell
me.
us.
No, sorry.
Wow.
Number 3.
So much for informing people.
Yeah. Ohio House candidate J.R. Majewski recently got caught lying about his military service.
It's a no.
He ran a Facebook ad identifying as a combat veteran and published a biography stating that his squadron was one of the first on the ground in Afghanistan after 9/11.
Can I just say, I'm sorry to interrupt, but whenever I hear the name Majewski, I just think that that's a funny thing to say to a rabbi when you ask for a beer. Brewski Majewski.
Put it on a shirt.
It's what I think every time.
Happy high holidays.
Elijah is so Shana Tova, everybody. Elijah is so small on the screen, but I can see his little head shaking.
Yeah, definitely shaking.
Brewski Majewski.
In reality, Majewski was stationed in an airbase in Japan and then deployed to Qatar to load and unload planes.
Right.
How QAnon is it to inflate your military credentials?
Honestly,
borderline
please,
normal.
Borderline normal. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people
John
have done
Kerry
it.
in 2004.
Great.
The reason I think this is borderline normal is because he got busted and the Republican campaign committees immediately pulled support.
Let me tell you, Majewski was at Donald Trump rally a couple weeks ago saying a whole bunch of things that would have got him into Q territory. But the inflating the military record is not one of them.
Some of our favorite Democrats have done it too.
So I said we ran John Kerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Majewski also stormed the Capitol. He is a big fan of QAnon memes, and he had a giant Trump mural on his lawn.
He looks like what would happen if a F-150 that has never been scratched was a person.
Huh. Yeah, that's how he got famous, Olivia, right? He had the biggest Trump sign ever that he carved into his multi-acre lawn. Yeah.
So here's my question. I had a feeling you all would defend Majewski. So we're going to add a layer here.
Interesting framing.
How QAnon is it to defend someone lying about their military service?
Wow.
Also
Again,
borderline normal.
Borderline normal?
It's way too normal.
Yeah.
That's like
Turning it on
every
its
day.
head.
All right. You heard it here first.
By the way, I was kidding about John Kerry.
Yeah, you're
yeah.
terrible. Both of you.
Wait, I don't
You
remember.
ashamed
I thought he
yourselves.
didn't. Didn't we decide that he didn't?
All right, number 4. Rallygoers once again held up the QAnon hand signal over the weekend, but Trump hired a guest management security guard to tell people to stop. One rallygoer furiously told reporters it violated his constitutional right. How Q is all of this mess?
I mean, this is quite literally Q.
Yeah.
Well, but I have to say, it's like when hiring somebody to walk around to stop the Q hand signal. I mean, look, for all the that's the only person doing something of substance at that. That's the only good person at that whole doing something good in that whole rally.
But except Trump played the little song that is the Q song and did the weird speech with the music behind it. You know? So maybe he has the staff trying to rein him in, but they're still going whole hog on this thing.
Also, calling your security guards guest management feels a little creepy to me too.
Yeah, it's a little like a Vegas casino kind of.
I don't know that we can rank this. It doesn't actually make sense. You can't rank the thing and the thing trying to stop the thing at the same time.
Well, let's choose one. The thing.
Yeah, let's do the hand. Actually, let's choose the rally goer saying it infringed on his constitutional right.
I mean,
that's a Q person saying Q stuff and wanting to be a Q person.
Yeah,
straight Q.
That's about
all right, we got a God tier one.
I got you.
All right, next one. During the Truth and Liberty Coalition conference this month, Representative Lauren Boebert warned of the end times and called for Christians to rise up. Here's a clip.
The end draw near. We know that we are in the last of the last days, but it's not a time to complain about it. It's not a time to get upset about it. This is a time to know that you were called to be a part of these last days. You get to have a role in ushering in the second coming of Jesus.
Oh my goodness!
What is
full? That's a full Q to me. That's a top end times you know.
Yeah, that is.
Right.
See. Now I'm upset that we did that with the rally goer.
I disagree. Springsteen yells "Rise Up" in a song, and you guys give him a Grammy. You know,
Oh, interesting.
You
Wow.
guys,
you
what have
libs.
Tommy's gone full Republican.
You libs, welcome
Red
to the
pill over
DNC.
here.
Yeah, look at this guy. He's the salt of the earth, Tommy Vietor.
My city of ruin.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got consensus here.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
on
that's
the
definitely
team.
that's the Qest thing I've heard today.
That's
All
super
right.
Q.
And the last one, Donald Trump re-truthed an image of Jesus, beckoning for you to follow him with the caption, "Jesus is the greatest. President Donald Trump is the second greatest." How Q is it to call yourself God?
That Jesus
didn't really
graphic
call
looks
himself
sort of
God.
He called
Bin
himself,
Laden-y
yeah.
to me.
He compared himself to
being
Jesus.
He
was
said
just saying,
second.
second.
It was very clear. He said second.
Yeah.
I think politicians comparing themselves, politicians claiming that Jesus is on their side is pretty normal.
But saying that you're the second greatest
is
like
not.
God
I agree.
is the greatest.
Go
and
up.
you're the
We gotta go
second
up.
greatest.
We gotta go up. We gotta
for
go up.
Sure.
I think it's
sort of
Fox News addict.
addict.
Yeah, that's where I think it goes.
Just sort of an outrageous statement that can only be made okay by the conservative media infrastructure that defends everything he does and says.
Yeah.
Is that their argument?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's that's why there was, a second set of footprints.
How about Brett Baer emailing the head of Fox News and asking for them to pull back the Fox News early election calls in Arizona?
He's a straight shooter
He's
for
a
you.
straight shooter one, though.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness to Brett Baer, they got a little lucky on that call. It was a little early.
They were
a little early. It's a little early. I'm glad it worked out.
In fairness to Brett Baer, put that on a T-shirt
Yeah,
on his
it's
tombstone.
Remember on Thursday when I defended Brett Kavanaugh? Well,
Oh, boy.
we got another Brett defender on the pod today.
All right, on to the next one. Matt Gaetz offered a preview of the agenda ahead, which you all just talked about, saying, I'm going to play a critical role as top member of the House Judiciary Committee, where we're going to be driving a lot of oversight and potentially even impeachments. How cute is it to promise to investigate your political opponents for anything, everything, and nothing at all?
That's Fox News tier. That's a Fox News tier to me.
Yeah.
Might be Uncle's Facebook.
It's
to be
becoming
honest.
borderline normal.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
I actually
I
think
think
that's
we gotta
right.
go
I go
Uncle's
down. Go
Facebook.
down. Uncle's Facebook.
Uncle's Facebook.
Uncle's Facebook.
Impeach Biden is all over Uncle's Facebook.
We got a
Finally
Brett
got
Baer
it.
graphic that's been added. Let's put him obviously Fox News tier.
Yeah, Fox News.
Fox
That's
News
right.
for
Yeah,
us.
that
There you
makes
go.
sense.
Brett.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
I'm glad we got him in there.
Yeah, he's not only a student but a teacher. He's not only a client, but not only the president but the client.
There you go. There you go.
Sure.
It's a nice 90s reference for you.
All right, and our last one, in response to New York Attorney General Letitia James announcing her investigation into Trump. He's been truthing that she is a racist.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, again, something all over your uncle's Facebook.
Yeah, that's
That is
yeah.
most uncle's Facebook thing.
Letitia James is the real racist. Is what Facebook exists to do. That's basically what the metaverse is. It's a bunch of
that's what
it's
Mark
a bunch of
Zuckerberg hoped
uncles.
for.
It's a bunch of uncles saying,
that
"Well,
was his aspiration.
If I can't say the N word, why do you get to say what
That's
you
it.
get to say?"
That's
That's
Oh,
it.
this is bringing out something in all of
Yeah,
you.
but they're doing it in Roblox or something? Is that your point?
they're
about
doing it
the
in
metaverse?
Minecraft. They're doing it in Minecraft.
How did you get the metaverse into this?
They're doing because that's what they're in there doing with their bottomless. The fact that also in the metaverse nobody has genitals is also I think important
I
to
don't
keep in
know.
mind.
Where the fuck are you hanging out?
Yeah,
on
how do you know that?
It's just that's what he put out there. Those kind of floating torsos on the metaverse.
That was your reaction, huh?
To what? To the metaverse? Well, it was just sort of like it was like, oh, you're not a
Where are the
person in here.
genitals?
Where?
All right, we got the genital place in here.
Olivia, fantastic game.
Great job.
Thanks,
Thanks, Olivia.
You only
Thank
fucked it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you to David Plouffe for joining us. Thank you to Olivia and the team for their wonderful game, Q tier. And we'll talk to you later.
Here's the thing. The reason I think they didn't put
Oh,
genitals in the
no.
metaverse
I
is because they
said
were
it's
trying. They
the
were so
end.
afraid. They were so afraid of like
the end.
politics. They're like, we can't deal with gender in the metaverse, so whatever.
It's just made up. You're just a conspiracy theorist.
What is it
now.
we're referencing when you say these?
That all the
these
pictures
claims?
on Mark Zuckerberg's video were just sort of floating upper bodies.
Oh.
Because I think they also don't want people making funny images inside the metaverse, so there's no one has legs.
I think there'll be plenty of funny business inside the metaverse.
That's probably half the point.
Yeah.
Isn't it, I don't understand the difference between the metaverse and just Second Life. Remember when there was Second Life
Yes.
and then
Hey,
like John Edwards was like, I got a headquarters in Second Life.
And then
Come visit
somebody-
me in here. I'm
somebody
having an
trashed
affair
it.
in here too.
Is this still
Somebody
this
trashed
isn't-
Somebody trashed his Second Life headquarters.
This is still happening.
Yeah,
I hope
let's
people
have some nice
aren't-
music under this.
Cut us
I
off.
hope people aren't listening.
Cut us
still.
off.